All right, folks, we are live from the captain's room. It's a fucking Monday fun day. And it's bright outside, so I'm going to put the sunglasses on. Today we're going to talk lawyers, guns, and money with my good friend, my compadre, my comrade, Felix Gonzalez. Let's give him a big round of applause. Say hello, Felix.
How you doing? Good to see you all.
Hey, so before we get started, just want to we're going to pay some bills. The podcast today is brought to you once again by Captain Demo's Big Truffle. Hot in all the wrong places since almost 1973. If you check that, I'd probably get sued. What do you think about that? I was born in 1976. So technically, right?
Well, works.
Works
Good enough.
Works for now. He can't represent me now. Also brought to you by Captain Demo's line of fine liquors, our vodka, our gin, our bourbon, and our reposado 100% agave spirit. Brought to you by the Captain's Room, which it never settles, right? You don't settle.
Never settle.
You win.
All I do is win.
All you do is win. You never settle with another party, do you?
Never.
Ever?
Never.
Never?
Never, ever?
In 30 years, never settled once?
Why bother?
I think I'm going to put your face on the bottles because it says never settle down there. Why would you settle when you could fucking win with the Captain's Room Bourbon? Brought to you by Felix from Law and Target. Is that the name?
Hello.
That's the
Yep.
name of the firm, right? Did I get it right?
Yes, it is.
All right. So we're off to a great start here. I'm going to turn this music down a little bit so we can get focused. Thank you for coming on Easter Monday. I know you had a lot going on yesterday with Easter and travel and probably spring break for your kids and whatnot. All right, great. So what did you do for Easter yesterday? Did you guys shoot an Easter bunny or anything?
Well, it was Easter weekend. Saturday was with the lady and her family, and yesterday was with my family. It was really nice. The lady.
Susanna.
That's right.
How's she doing these days? So you spent Easter with her?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Spend all of our time together, really.
That's fucking Dorbs.
Good time.
Good time. She's a special one.
Yeah.
So you guys did some Easter stuff. Were your kids in from school?
My oldest, who goes to school in the city, he stays on campus. But my youngest stayed on campus for Easter.
And where's he again?
University of Michigan.
Oh yeah, right on. So is he like fully into the sports thing there, or he's just kind of?
He's on a Taekwondo team.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's a first degree black belt, so he's on a Taekwondo club or team, whatever they do. They've done a couple competitions.
It's neat. It's
Yeah.
neat. You're a judo guy, weren't you?
No, I was a Taekwondo guy as well. Yeah, first.
So you guys
degree
did
black
that. You
belt.
did that together.
Well, I did it when I was a wee lad, and I got my black belt when I was like 15 or so, and he got it a little bit later than that, but he got it when he was in high school.
See, I have to have multiple belts because most of them don't fit me. See how that works?
Yeah, well, like Mr. Miyagi said, J.C. Penney.
Good old Mr. Miyagi. Well, hey, I'm glad you came. I want to talk to you. There's so much cool stuff going on and a lot of crazy things going on in the world. And
Always.
you know, as I've gotten older, you know, when you're a kid, when you're 20, you're like, I don't need a fucking lawyer. Like that's just something my friend does for a living. And you know, and then I've gotten into different things over the years and starting businesses and you know, buying real estate and doing all kinds of different things, setting up estates and trusts. And there's a ton of brain damage out there. And, you know, I've said this before to people, like find the best lawyer you can't afford because you really, you really can't do the things you need to do all on your own. And I think people now, I think they think, everything's available on the internet or I could just Google and whatever. And don't get me wrong, like I check a lot when I'm working with an attorney, especially a new one, or I'm working with someone else's attorney. Like I definitely use the tools to run things through. But, what that does is create a brief for me to sit down with my attorney and say, hey, these are my concerns. And now I'm a better customer. I'm a better client to my attorney, when I'm talking to him, from a position of strength versus a position of ignorance. And, I think we'll get into that a little bit later on. But anyway, thank you again for coming. Could we start with just tell me the name of your firm, where you guys are located. I know Law on Target. You're the HBIC, like you're the head boy in charge or head honcho in charge. It's just you, right?
Head honcho, the big cheese.
Right on.
Yeah,
The biggest cheese.
I've been practicing for almost 28 years now. Graduated in '99.
28 years. Is that how long we've known each other?
Actually, longer than that, because that's when I graduated from law school.
Holy buckets! Hey, let's rewind a little bit. I think I jumped ahead. So we've known each other at least 30 years, right?
I would say at least that, yeah.
Because I think we're about the same age. I think you might be one school year ahead of me.
I'm like 2 school years.
Maybe 2 school years ahead.
Yeah.
So I met you. Where did we met? We met at U of I, but we met through
Therese Catazone in her living room one day when we were all going out to a party.
Was I wearing a shirt?
I can't even remember. I hope you weren't.
Were you wearing a shirt?
Probably.
Pants? Optional?
Rarely. But
Those were the pants optional days back in the day. Wow. Well, we've come a long way. Look at us. We're both wearing shirts.
Right.
Pants. Well, they can't tell if you're wearing pants, but
I could stand.
I told you I wanted you to be comfortable, Felix, but not not that comfortable. All right, so we went to U of I around the same time, right? Because we became fast friends socially. We were doing stuff. I don't remember having any classes with you, and then you went to law school, and you went to law school at U of I, right?
I sure did. Yeah.
So you stayed. We all took off. You stayed for a couple more years.
Yeah. 92 to 99, I was there.
Naners, straight to the 99s, and then so like when you go to law school, do you stop hanging out at CAMS, or do you just keep going to like C.O. Daniels? And
it's really funny because on a college campus, even though you're a grad student, you instantaneously almost become the old guy in the club, even though you're like only a year older than the oldest kid there. So yeah, then you start going to the graduate bars if you have the time to go in between all the other BS that they're giving you for studies.
Are you pretending like you were a studious Maximus?
I didn't have a choice. I wasn't that smart, so I had to work hard.
Well, that happens. That happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that I don't have a law degree, but I'm not a lawyer, but I did play one as an entrepreneur for a little while, and I was surrounded by some really great attorneys and some really shitty ones too, because it's just like everyone, like back in the day, like my mom and dad, when we go to the doctor and I go to a visit with them or something, my dad always wears a suit to the doctor. When he flies, he wears a suit. It's class,
A gentleman.
And he gives that person the benefit of the doubt. And, this guy went to a lot more schooling than I did. And, that's what you're supposed to do, right? And I do the same thing. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But I'm like instantly critical. I'm like, wait a second. Like this guy puts his pants on like I do. And now I have access to all these different, tools, and I'm almost 50. I've been around the block a few times, so like my radar goes up right away, and I start asking, clarifying questions, and like I think a lot of people aren't prepared to do that. Thankfully, I'm a pain in the ass, and I advocate for myself and for the other, for others, but I feel like a lot of people don't know the right questions to ask, and that's even more reason to get a great attorney, and particularly someone that's been like referred to, like if you've been referred to someone, because then like the trust is there. And I think a lot of people don't realize like that people don't become a specialist in real estate from going to college, right? Like you went to law school to study law to pass the bar exam.
Yeah.
Like
that's how I started earning a paycheck.
So when you're going to school and then you go to law school, it's not like you're picking a major in law.
No. There's a required curriculum essentially for the first 2 years, and then you get some electives on top of that, but then you're just full plow to the bar exam.
Right. And then once you pass the bar, like that's for criminal law, that's for real estate law, that's for corporate, international.
It's like being a veterinarian, you're just doing all different kinds of things all in one day. Lawyers tend to specialize simply because there's such a large body of case law. You don't want somebody who's doing 20 different things and can't keep up with any of them.
Right. So, I mean, with that being said, how do people, when they get out of school, how do they find themselves kind of moving into a specialization, and how do they get that experience to do so? Because for me, it's counterintuitive. I'd be like, oh, that would make sense to me. You go to school, then you go to law school, and then you're like, my parents or my dad was in this, in real estate law. I want to study real estate law and take over his practice, or I'm really interested in malpractice, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
How do you go about getting that experience? Because right out of the gate, you're like everybody else. You're a neophyte. You don't know shit about shit. in that specific lane.
Yeah.
How do you go about getting that experience? That's the hardest thing, I would assume.
Well, when I was a young attorney, I graduated with a degree in philosophy of all things.
Okay.
I came into a U of I with a college of business, but then I decided to switch to philosophy. I was interested in art and history and the dialectic. I was a big fan of Socrates. And
Socrates, as we call him.
Socrates, yes, one of the greats. And then after that, basically, I went into law school and had a lot of experience doing litigation. So I worked for insurance companies. I worked at State Farm as an intern one summer. And then I did a internship at U of I with some bigger law firms as well. And just like you might do nowadays, you just continue to fill out your resume. You go in a direction that you think you're interested in. Once I started practicing, I did litigation for insurance companies on one side or the other for about 5 years. And then I started doing transactional work for real estate.
So for the folks keeping score at home, a lot of people don't know what litigation means. A lot of lawyers are attorneys, they're lawyers, they're advisors, they're consultants, but they're not litigators. What's the difference between being an attorney, consultant, advising a customer, and being an actual litigator? What does a litigator do?
So I would break down the practice of law for most practitioners as between civil, criminal, and maybe administrative or governmental. So that would be the three broad categories. Everybody knows criminal law. You're either going to be like a prosecutor, which would mean you're for the state. If you're representing an individual who's trespassed against the law, you'd be a criminal defense attorney, and you're going to court, you're dealing with that. If you're on the civil side, a lot of times either if you're going to represent a plaintiff in a case, a litigation case, litigation really means you're in court or you're headed towards court.
You're suited up and you're at the bench. You're representing someone in a dire situation in the thick, going to the court date, right?
Yeah, you're dealing with that. So, and then civil law would be broken down really between litigation and transactional work. So your transactional stuff is like leases, contracts, documentation, preparation, that type of stuff where you're just really pushing paper, but it's essential. I mean, you have to have that in order to make sure in case things don't work out and you have to litigate.
Did you say in case? Was that like a lawyer pun? In case. So Felix, I think that's a pretty good segue for us to talk about the name of your firm officially is Law on Target.
Yeah.
Okay. And you are the principal,
lead counsel,
all the things, and then you have a supporting cast.
Yep.
That is kind of your back of the house.
Yep.
That does the stuff that you need them to do so that you could be out there litigating, doing the things, finding and helping new customers, old customers, retained customers, all that. That's another thing that gets thrown out there. Terminology is like a retainer. Like, what does it mean to be retained? Like, who's a what's like? I have a couple of different attorneys for my real estate stuff and whatever, and sometimes I have to keep them on retainer for a period of time because we have an ongoing development. What's the easiest way to explain that to someone?
A retainer is basically you got a guy on standby. If you're paying an attorney a regular sum, basically the expectation is hey, I have stuff that's coming in. Something may not come in for a month or two, but when it does, I need it to be at the forefront of your attention. You would put an attorney on retainer. And that's a really easy and good way for the attorney to make sure that they're going to be available for you and you as a client to make sure that when you need your matters in a pressing time that they can be addressed. I mean, I get a phone call sometimes at 4 o'clock on a Friday saying I have court Monday morning at 9 a.m. Oh, and by the way, it's a trial. Can you represent me? And I can't take those cases. I don't know anything about it. The judge doesn't want me to do that. It'll be a really big mess. So having an attorney on retainer is basically, because what do we sell as attorneys? We sell our expertise and we sell our time. We're not selling phones, widgets, whatever. So you want to have that person available when you need them, and that's the purpose of a retainer.
Yeah, for me, like it's if I'm paying a retainer and I'm calling you, I want you to pick up the phone.
Yeah, that's what it's for.
And I have a really good kind of level of service agreement with people that says like, hey, like I understand we all got families. If I'm calling you and it's an emergency, and I don't have the kind of emergencies where it's like drop everything and call me, but it could be a real estate closing that's coming up because a common one is we're selling a property and all of a sudden a buyer comes out of nowhere and it's like a Friday before Easter weekend, just like we had. and a guy has a 1031 exchange, which is like a real estate thing where he's trying to trade out of one property into another for a tax benefit, sensitive. Right? Time sensitive. And it's like the end of the month, and he had a previous deal that he was comfortably moving into and moving his money and whatever, went to shit for some reason. They couldn't close, violation of, some kind of code or whatever. And now they find another property, which is great news for us, but it's like a hurry up, and then I got to call someone who's getting on a plane to go with their family. Yeah. And I'm like, hey man, so that's why, that's why I keep people that way. Yeah. When I know it's kind of imminent.
Yeah. If I get a cold call on a Friday and it's like, I need this by Monday and it's, Easter weekend, I'm going to be in church, I'm going to be with the family, and you're not on retainer and you haven't paid yet. So good luck.
Right. So for most of your clientele, so let's kind of shift gears. So talk a little bit about what is Law on Target. What is your guys' focus? You've been doing this now almost 30 years. Yeah. You've been kind of embedded in that part of the city there. You service customers from all over the place. Yep. Friends, family, referrals, people that have found you because of your reviews and because of your good work. So what are the main areas of law that and family law or whatever that you guys focus on? And then let's talk a little bit about each one of them.
Well, historically, for the last, I would say, at least 10 to 15 years, we've really just done a lot of real estate. Real estate on the transactional side, which would be your buys and your sells. And then post-2007, when the market went in another direction, I realized you can't just be a transactional attorney. Being an attorney, just like a lot of other businesses, is market dependent. And with the cyclical nature of the real estate market, I decided that my funding of my kids' college tuitions and my retirement couldn't stand the cyclical nature sometimes of
episodic even.
Episodic, definitely. Because every month we're going out, we're getting new clients. We have a good number of referrals that keep coming through, but the vast bulk are brand new clients that come through, and we try to retain them. So I switched also to doing litigation. So I had done insurance litigation for a number of years and had a lot of trials, was very successful as a litigator. And then after that, I went back to doing about 40% litigation and 60% doing transactional. Now all the real estate litigation that we do is evictions, mechanics lien, construction lien litigation, construction disputes, things of that nature. So most of the litigation we do is centered around real estate transactions.
Got it. So would you say the majority of what you do is residential or commercial or a mixture of both?
We're probably doing about 30% commercial. The rest would be residential.
Got it. Okay. So for friends of ours and people that we know, that means if you're buying a house, that helping with the closing, advising you throughout, trying to find, opportunities and or landmines as you're going throughout, that process. Yeah. Residential stuff seems to be pretty straightforward for the most part until it's not. And that's That's
for sure. I mean, right now I got about 3 or 4 cases that I'm looking at where, failure to disclose, you close on a house, then all of a sudden about 2-3 weeks later, especially with the rains we've had, now all of a sudden you got a leak in your basement. So, people are calling me about that kind of stuff right now.
So when you say failure to disclose, let's be very explicit because, again, you're kind of like shifting into lawyer legalese here. Yeah. Failure to disclose that there was a hole in the roof or that there was previous damage or, because
the tree in the front yard has been eating up your roots and you've had water damage in the past, but you didn't say anything.
Right.
Because there's paperwork you have to fill out that says whether or not you've experienced these issues.
Right. So
people lie.
So, yeah, people definitely lie. And especially in real estate, we're like, well, I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you.
Yeah. Well,
so disclosure is the definition of that.
Yeah.
Essentially. So what are the main things that people kind of like, oh yeah, it's not that big a deal. So flooding,
water infiltration, always a big one. I mean, we've had situations where people will put a tarp in a attic to cover that the roof is leaking. And then, after the inspections are done, and the homeowner goes to do the final walkthrough, looks in there and finds a tarp that wasn't there during the inspection. And then the tarp has water, and then you find out that that's an issue.
And then you pull the tarp aside, then there's like 7 dead clowns under there.
Right, yeah.
Jesus.
So it's interesting because, it's like just spend a couple of extra bucks, avoid the litigation, but here we are.
Right on. So what are, in a real estate situation for residential, what are some of the main things that you're looking out for, the 2 or 3 most common things that people overlook when they're going through either a purchase of a new home or a purchase of an existing home, for the first time or as their third home, whatever.
Well, the number one thing I always tell people is you have to get a good inspection. I mean, sometimes they get these El Cheapo specials with just a notepad and a carbon copy or something like that.
My dad's a retired shop teacher. He's doing that now.
Yeah, my uncle's a contractor, that kind of stuff. That's not really what you want. You want to have a very full and robust inspection of the property. And, the fact of the matter is it's a third party. It's a third party coming in. You got all googly eyes because it's a beautiful house and you like the way that it's going to look and you're thinking to yourself all that wonderful stuff. But an inspector is going to be able to go through and use their knowledge, training, and experience to, have specialized equipment like moisture detectors and cameras to do a scope of a sewer line, for example. And there's two different parts to it. One is prospective. What are the issues that might fail in the future? And then one is immediate, which is what needs to be repaired now. And you can negotiate with the seller based upon those issues.
Got it. So, common gotchas, right? I think one of the things for me was always kind of like making sure that the closing was set up correctly, and that's both on the, on the residential side, but on the commercial side, shifting gears, to commercial, having the right person write up your contract with your needs and your highest and best, kind of needs in mind, and making sure that, they're interacting with the other attorney on a, regular basis and making sure that changes get put through. I mean, that sounds kind of basic, but, if you're having to ride your attorney really hard, to follow up on stuff, that's not a good situation.
No, it's not. But, a lot of people, as you were maybe saying earlier, my cousins, uncles, brothers, friends, and nephews, next door neighbor's friend from 81, he's a lawyer. Why don't we use him is maybe not the guy. Always ask your attorney, and, you said use of AI and tech. It's a good starting place to make sure you're asking good questions, but always make sure that they commonly practice in this area. The person who's doing criminal defense, divorce work, and then doing your closing, probably not as versed in terms of how to manage through some of the typical problems we get.
Yeah, agreed. I think, 30 years ago when I was in my 20s, sounds old now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Ugh,
Before the internet?
I might edit that out. That sounded like really fucking old. 30 years ago when I was in my 20s, I think people value things strangely. I have a this beautiful private event space. It's, it's fine dining. It's very curated. It's, it's not cheap, but the value of what we deliver is over the top. And I think once people experience it, and then they're just like, whoa, I get it now. To equate that to law, until you've gotten your ass kicked or lost, something where you either said, I'm just going to represent myself, which are this, however many words that was, that many words of the dumbest words you could actually ever probably say. You're not going to do your own dentistry.
No.
If I have something stuck in my teeth, I'll first try with a toothbrush, maybe a toothpick or something. But I'm not going out to the garage and getting the ice pick, a hammer, sandblaster, whatever. I'm going to be fuck, I got to go, get this checked out by a pro.
You're not taying your tooth to the doornail to pull it out.
I mean, I am a huge fan of the Three Stooges, and I may have done that when I was a child for my baby teeth.
Yeah.
But I don't have any more baby teeth, man. I think
things you have to invest in.
I think that's the right word. I think people don't realize that, it might cost you a few $1,000 to do this or to do that, but it's not going to cost you 2 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars of disaster to have the fire blanket protection of an attorney, especially one that is, when I'm interviewing attorneys. I always ask them why did you get into this? What was it that made you decide that you wanted to be an attorney?
I like to solve problems, and I like to do so creatively.
Well, I think most attorneys are like most realtors. They think it's a way to make a lot of money quickly. I'm going to be an attorney. I'm going to be a realtor. That sounds good. Yeah. I can focus for 4 or 6 years and get a degree. But if you're not I use the word curious. Like if you're not like an investigative kind of mind, you're not going to be a very good attorney.
No, there's also different types of attorneys. I mean, I'm probably introverted by nature, but extroverted because I have to be as a practitioner. But I think that there's also a lot of what I would just call wet noodle attorneys who are very difficult to carry conversations with.
Can you get on like LinkedIn and look up like wet noodle? Is that a real type of attorney?
Yeah, just like...
Can you name a few wet noodle attorneys?
They're very meh.
Barf.
Yeah, so, and I think when you're trying to figure out who you're going to have represent you, I think it's a fair question to say, how many cases of like this have you handled? What type of philosophy do you have with the other attorney? Are you well known in the legal community? Is a very easy and good question to ask.
I think that's important too. Yeah, it's like you do, especially on the litigation side.
Yeah, by reputation.
Like how many cases have you litigated? And then they're like, just again, like you probably remember. Well, you probably remember all of them. No, I know you.
Mostly,
You're kind of photographic that way. But the first one, like, dude, how nervous were you? Right.
Well, I remember being a young attorney at the first firm that I was at, and we did insurance defense work. And then I was there for about a year, and then I did plaintiff's work for about another 4 years. And, tied to what you're indicating, I've just recently got back into doing personal injury work as well. And I had a case with an attorney that I had over 20 years ago, and she remembered me, and we were actually able to settle the case very efficiently for good money because she remembered how well I had treated her as an attorney when we were both younger. So my reputation, 20 years later, I hadn't talked to her, and she's like, do you remember when you were doing this and we had this case? And I remembered it, and I was like, oh my God. And she's like, yeah. She's like, I'll tell you what, I'll go back to my adjuster. We'll see what we can do to work this out.
Right.
And it was very fair for both sides, and it was fantastic. You make your reputation in any business, but law more so than others.
It's so cumulative. Like,
absolutely.
I don't know if it's possible to, ever not win. I mean, I guess when I've talked to my attorneys and friends that are attorneys, and even and I don't think we've ever talked about this, but like whenever they do, unfortunately, either like lose a case, it's almost never because the other side had a better argument. It's always, it seems, because who you're representing forgot to tell you something or omitted something.
There are certainly cases where your client decides to hide the obvious facts of the case, and it doesn't help. I recently tried a case.
Right, dude, you're like, dude, you're paying me.
Right. I can't help you if you don't tell me what the weak points are. But they don't want to tell you because then they're afraid somehow that you'll use that against them. But as an attorney, you have to prepare against that. I had a case where I was representing a contractor. He did a great job, but the house started to sag. And the homeowner sued my guy as the builder. And at the end of the case, we won. But the telling part about it was that after 3 full days of testimony of the parties, the judge told the plaintiff's attorney, the other side, that it was a borderline fraud upon the court, the way that the case was presented. And in the hundreds, maybe even thousands of cases I've had a judge read a verdict, I'd never heard that. I mean, the other guy was just so bad, and the facts against them were so bad that we were able to bring out that the judge called it basically a borderline fraud, which is really calling it a fraud, but he was trying to hedge his words.
Yeah, like fraud light.
Fraud light.
Yeah.
Fraud light.
Like fraud
My
light.
client was very happy. The other side wasn't. It was because they sued him for over $120K.
Yeah, that's a nice little Venmo transaction to have to send. So when someone loses a case like that, and I don't know why I just thought of that, but like, all right, judge smacks the gavel and you're awarded $120,000 in the settlement and whatever. Like, how long before they have to pay that? Like, is that like they go and the bailiff comes and, takes your wallet and makes you write a check? Like,
it depends on the facts of the case. Sometimes you might be suing over something that's a tangible asset that you could seize, and that'll be put in the order, for example.
Like a cigarette boat in Miami?
Something like that, yeah.
That would be a cool thing to seize.
Call Crockett and Tubbs and see what they got going on. But, I think that a lot of times if it's just a straight up money damage case, it's very challenging to collect. And, I always recommend to clients that, yes, you might win, but did you really win if you just have a piece of paper with a number on it and you can't collect? I mean, I had court this morning on a very good friend of mine, wonderful client. We took a $75,000 judgment against the contractor who literally stole money, agreed that he stole the money, but I think he actually might be dead at this point because we had to do a skip trace on him. We've done all this following. He was at the VA for treatment for a period of time. Now the guy he's gone MIA.
He's gone. There's nothing we could do.
Yeah, he's gone. And, so we won a $75,000 verdict, and now it's up to, I think, 85 is my calculation. And the guy he's a ghost. So
does that go to probate? Got to get in line behind his mortgage and...
Technically, what should have happened is if a probate was open, then yes, we would have been in line. But, the way the guy had represented
Look at the big legal brain on Captain Demo over here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these are all great points. But, this is why I always tell clients, is the juice worth the squeeze? And there's a phrase I use called lawyer math, which is, it's going to cost us $25,000 to win, but if you're only going to collect $25,000, maybe we should settle for something different. In the meantime.
What's your time worth?
Yeah, and the risk.
I've had, unfortunately, well, I shouldn't say that. Fortunately, like I've never been stung. Like anything I've ever had to do legally has always been, business deals and, just finer points that got overlooked or whatever. But they're big ramifications 4 years later when a project was $500,000 to buy it, and then it's sold for $2 million, and now there's hemming and hawing about who's doing what, who gets this, who gets that, and how it gets split up, and how long before this, and that can get hairy pretty quick. But like, I've been involved in exactly what you said, where you're like, man, this dude literally stole money, and admitted to it stupidly. There's all the case, material in the world. There's all the evidence, I should say. There's case law. There's everything.
Yeah.
But when you look at it and you're like, all right, this is going to take 2 years, maybe less, but at
about
least
2 years. Yeah.
At least 2 years. Let's call it that. And we stand to make X. We're in Illinois, which is a very, friendly state to the unfriendlies. Mm-hmm. You catch the wrong judge. And that's something that we, I don't want to talk too much about that, but like, you could have an ironclad case that 3 lawyers look at and be like, dude, this is a slam dunk. Like, that's the famous last words, right? Oh, this is a slam dunk.
Yeah. Famous last words.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, people say that all the time, and I'm like, dude, don't say this deal is a slam dunk. Don't say this case. Yeah, I mean, it's just, now it's fucked. Now it's like,
you just put the mush.
You just, booga, booga, booga. You just ruined it. Now your slam dunk case is a piece of shit, and here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it happens all the time.
It does happen all the time, and that's an unfortunate thing. So, anyway, let's kind of shift gears a little bit. Whenever I'm talking to people or whenever people are asking me questions, I've been on, they're always like, look, dude, anytime you do something for 30 years, there's going to be some scenes that you walk into, or there's going to be some scenarios that you're like, man, dude, like, I'm going to be a lawyer for another 20 years, maybe. I don't know how long you plan on working, but like, does anything surprise you anymore? Like, what are like the top 2 or 3 things that you've seen where you're just like, I never in my life, with all my training, was never going to be prepared for this?
I got to tell you, a lot of times it's, I have a phrase, it never ceases to amaze me how people constantly act against their own interests just to prove a point.
Self-inflicted wounds?
Self-inflicted wounds are the favorite kind of wounds.
I'll take self-inflicted wounds for
1,000.
10,000.
Yeah,
people are fucking stupid, man.
I've had people call the office and, will describe their situation. I'll review their paperwork with them. I'll give them my opinion as to how I would approach a case. I like to make sure that I'm on the same page with my clients about my approach, because I do think I handle things maybe a little bit more creatively, maybe a little bit differently than other counsel might. Not to say one way is better than the other, but my way is better. And what I would say is...
Hold on. Not to say my way is better, it might be more creative, but my way is better.
It's better, right.
It's better. I like the confidence there.
Yeah, well, because I've had people come back to me and they say, well, hey, I decided to go with another lawyer. Inevitably, it's somebody who quoted a cheaper price. And then...
So stupid.
Stupid. What do they call it? Pound wise, penny foolish or something like that. But, the point
I just call it dumb.
Dumb is an excellent word.
It's just dumb. It's just dumb. Hey, people, quick PSA. Like, if you got your ass in a ringer and you think, and whether you have money coming your way or not, right? Because we could there's a whole lot of ways lawyers get paid.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about retainers. We talked about an hourly rate.
Yeah.
There might be some people that are looking at, what's the, on a contingency.
Yeah. Contingencies. I've done barter.
Where you're like,
hey,
I think you got a strong enough case where we're going to have an award and we'll take the case on
personal injury or like that.
Face value, things like that. Did you say barter?
I've done barter. Yeah.
So barter, for those of you that don't know what barter means,
it's exchanging goods for services.
Like wampum? Like were you working with like an Indian reservation and they were like, I'll trade you these pelts for services?
I have a bunch of beaver pelts over here in the office.
We've got the freshest beaver pelts in all of Illinois. Felix, take the field is yours.
Well, one time when I was a young lad attorney, maybe about a year and a half out, I had worked at a firm, and the senior partner was a character and a half. He's a great guy.
Did he only accept payment in fresh beaver pelts?
It was sometimes, but
we're gonna take that one out in post.
There you go. And
this is fresh.
We had a client come in who handed me this baggie of like this white mush. And I was and I didn't even know what the thing was. I'm like this. It looked like moldy, mushy stuff. And I was, I guess one might say an innocent at the time. And I'm like, what's that? He's like, it's Coke. I'm like, Coke what?
Coke Zero?
Yeah. I like the thought had never even occurred to me.
Excuse me, counsel. This cocaine smells funny.
Right. I can't exactly go to Citibank and make a deposit with the Coke, right?
Oh, man.
So I'm like, get this off my desk. What are you doing over here? And he's like, it's really good. I'm like, I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it. And so he's like, well, talk to the boss. So I took it in the boss and I'm like, we're not getting paid in this. So, then you're in a weird position.
That's not quite wampum.
That's not quite wampum.
That's like Colombian
Bam Bam.
Bam Bam.
And I went back to the client, and this is one of the weird times. I'm like, get rid of this.
Was it about like 2 kilos? What are we talking here? Like Narcos? 2 fingers worth.
Yeah. I'm like, what the hell are you doing over here?
Now, that's the kind of advice that you want to get from an attorney. Like, hey, listen, what is this, about a couple of kilos? Come back in a couple weeks. Go turn this around.
Yeah.
You became a sales manager at that point.
Right. Sign on the line that is dotted. But
sign on the line, don't snort it.
Yeah, that was like the first.
Another advice from us.
Attempted barter, because I'm not into that life. But I've had a lot of clients. The number one barter I do is firearms, because I'm a big firearm guy. And so
Hold on a second.
There's a lot of guys who lose their firearms.
You're like the Charlie Wilson of Charlie Wilson's War of Chicago.
Well, if you're firearm ineligible and they're going to get confiscated, you might as well do a bill of sale and pay your legal bill.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Not for most attorneys.
Are you? You're going to have a lot of guys calling you, going like trying to trade up some old guns.
Well, they better have some pretty nice ones. I got quite a collection as it is.
What about? So wait a second. So like somebody was getting represented or needed to be, and you're like, all right, well, this is about what it's going to cost. And the guy's like, fuck, I don't have that.
I don't have any money. And said, well, what do you have? And did you just lost your
And we're all full up on Coke right now. We're good. We don't need Coke. We don't need
Coke, LSD, whatever the hell. But actually, on my way over to the studio, my FFL called me because I have one that I'm going to pick up, a rifle.
That's not in your car right now, like on the dashboard, is it?
It's not. No, I got to go pick it up from the guy. Yeah. Yeah, I gave him good value for it, and I provided the legal services. Everybody was happy. And
what's the coolest gun legally that you could talk about that you ever did a trade for?
Well, I'm a big SIG fan, and I've probably picked up about 4 SIGs that way.
SIG. So for those of you, that's a SIG Sauer. It's a fine German firearm? Made here in the U.S.?
Yeah, Austrian, yeah.
Austrian, sorry. Mm-hmm. Man,
Just picked up a 5.16 rifle, which is really nice. It's an AR-15. Now, most Illinois residents cannot do that due to the PICA Act under J.B. Pritzker, but I also happen to have a firearms control card as I'm a licensed private detective. So
is that why you keep the mustache on kind of like a 2?
On fleek, yeah.
On fleek. Because if you have to go into private investigator mode, you could just wait 3 days.
I'm going to Magnum PI that.
You could you just wait. Felix waits 3 days, and then he goes a private investigator mode.
That's right.
Do you wear a Hawaiian shirt when you do that, or
just a short shorts?
Sure. Do you drive a late model Fiero?
Yeah, exactly.
And then, so you're on stakeouts?
I've done some stakeouts, some surveillance, as we call it in the trade.
I like calling it stakeout. It seems more TV.
Yeah, well, but it reminds me of a steakhouse. Then I think about Longhorn. Then I get hungry.
You look more like a You're more of a surveillance guy. I'm more of a stakeout guy.
Yeah.
Like I'd show up and like, do you ever get the old banana in the tailpipe trick while you're on a stakeout?
No.
That was the one that asked somebody.
That hasn't happened yet.
I ain't falling for the old banana in the tailpipe.
Yeah. You know, the sad thing about our society is we're not walking around with bananas like we used to.
Man, that's true. That's true. You'd get more like a protein bar in the old tailpipe.
Yeah, exactly. Some tofu. Tofu in the tailpipe.
I think protein bar in the tailpipe means something different, but
better be a kind bar though.
If it's gonna be, we're doing a lot of plugs, literally.
Yeah, exactly.
The old banana in the tailpipe, the old protein bar, the old protein bar in the tailpipe. I think we should move on from protein bar in the tailpipe because that can be taken a lot of different ways. But at least be kind. And they are not a sponsor of the show yet, but get in touch with us at www.captaindemos.com, where we're hot in all the wrong places, and that kind bar seems to be something that can be hot in wrong places. All right, so barter, guns. So we've covered lawyers, we've covered guns, and we've covered some money.
Yeah.
I don't think what we haven't really covered is the other things that you do. So a lot of times, lawyers are just lawyers, right? And that, not to say that that's a bad thing. I've had a lot of different things that I've done in my career, and I do many of them still. But you do a lot of things. So you're an attorney, you're a dad, okay? You're
firearm instructor.
You're a firearm instructor for many, many years.
Yeah.
And you're a private investigator. You're special forces of your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Do you have like a patch?
I almost handcuffed somebody yesterday.
Just as a private citizen?
Yeah.
Just straight up, like walked up to a guy that was doing something stupid?
12:30 at night. I was laying in bed, and the guy was driving the wrong way down the block and blasted about 5 or 6 cars. There was a DUI.
He hit the cars?
He smacked the ever-living out of them, and the entire neighborhood came out. And
you're like, you run out in your like SpongeBob pajamas and
SpongeBob pajama pants. Well,
were you packing heat?
I had to. Yes, always.
Okay.
So
SpongeBob check.
I came
Heater,
out,
check.
and the guy was clearly over intoxicated.
He was in the car or out of the car at this point?
By the time I got down, because I put on my gear, I was in my sleeping garb.
Yeah.
And it was cold. And so I got myself
vested up. He was all
up.
tucked in for a short winter's nap.
Right.
And then boom. Along came a tussle.
While I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a rapping at my neighbor's door.
Were you wearing flip-flops?
No, I put on zapatos.
Okay.
But and then the guy, it's called zapatos, but details.
What are you, Harry Carey? Zapatos, spelled backwards, zipatos.
Hustles.
All right.
So and then the guy realized that about 20 of his neighbors were about to beat his ass, and then he decided to get back into the vehicle, which...
Wait, so this is a guy that was on his way, almost made it home.
I don't know where he lived, but he did not almost make it home because he took out probably at least 5 cars on this block.
I had thought you said his neighbors or whatever.
Yeah, it was. They crashed in front. I mean, who knows where he came from, but the guy was over intoxicated, not just drunk. He was over intoxicated.
Okay.
But I got to hand it to CPD. They were really funny to the guy because his car was clearly immobile. He blew out the tie rod and the wheel was on an angle. And he goes, well, maybe if I could just do some tests on you and you could let me know if you're doing okay, I'll let you drive home. The guy's like, oh, okay. So, yeah.
Oh,
the guy
the old switcheroo.
Yeah. Well, remember, the cops don't have an obligation to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
And
but he looked like he was about to kind of try to take off running. And, we made sure that didn't happen. And I told him, I go, if you move, I'm going to cuff you. And then after that, he just sat his ass down until the cops came.
So you can legally do that?
You can. Well,
Is that like police academy, like citizens on patrol?
Illinois permits citizens arrest. I don't recommend it for 99% of the people.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Do you have to declare that?
I have special qualifications, and I am a licensed private detective, and I'm trained, which is the biggest part of it, to cuff somebody who's resisting. But fortunately, it didn't come to that.
So you could have legally
detained somebody who had just committed a felony, and waited for the cops to come.
And do you have to? What if they didn't commit a felony and you did that? That's a lot of paperwork.
You could potentially put yourself at liability. So you have to know about use of force,
right,
and when you can properly act. So
well, I commend you for doing that because more than 99.99% of people would probably just do some fucking cowboy shit and get themselves in worse trouble. And
absolutely.
That brings me to like my next thing, which is kind of a shame. It's like. And I've been in and around situations, and you see this now all over the internet. It makes me fucking sick. But like, people's first inclination is to grab the phone. Like, someone's getting their ass beat for no reason or for some reason, and there's people around, like on a subway or in a confined space at a McDonald's, a Waffle House.
Don't fight in Waffle House.
Right,
they will kick your ass.
Right. Well, I mean,
Waffle. I think they do jujitsu training when they're teaching how to fry the.
Helping out.
I'm a Maymaster.
Yeah, but I mean, people don't want to get involved because you go in there, you break up the fight, then you get swung on, or and you get hurt. There's no knight in shining armor anymore. Like there's a lot of people that won't step in, and then you got people that famously in the last few years have stepped in, have intervened. And they could be ex-military, they could be current military, whatever. And I didn't remember the guy's name, but I think that's the gentleman that ended up. Now he's on trial for defending someone. And there's various stages of that. I don't want to pin it to that specific thing because you could. There's thousands of those. That's the one you hear about.
Yeah.
There's thousands of those cases probably a year, and maybe that's inaccurate, but it's got to be of where someone got in the middle of something. And to try and intervene and whatever, and either, got stuck with a bad judge or just, and I hate saying it, wrong place, wrong time, because people are using that in a different way now, where it's clearly not a case of wrong place, wrong time. It's just horrible legislation for many, many years that led up to terrible situations.
That is true.
But I think now people, are telling their kids, just get the fuck out of there. Don't, that's not your problem. Get out of there. And I always tell my kids, I say, hey man, you don't need to be a hero, but you got to do the right thing, man. If someone's in trouble, you got to make sure you're calling somebody. And if you're there and it's dire, you got to do what you got to do. That's a person.
I think you and I come from a different generation than the current generation.
Oh man, for sure.
The way that I would look at it is that if you see something, we used to say I can't abide by something like that, So if I'm walking down the street and I see, some knuckleheads, rolling up on an old lady with her shopping cart and she's got a babushka and they're trying to steal her purse, I'm not going to let that go. If I'm at the park hanging out, relaxing, and I hear a little girl screaming, "This isn't my daddy, help!" I'm not going to abide by that.
Yeah, man.
I'm not going to let that go.
Yeah.
But I think also a lot of people need to get trained. What does that mean? That means know when to use force, how to use force. And if you're not going to know any of that, I would just simply recommend just get yourself some pepper spray.
Yeah.
Because your little hot sauce in all the right places.
Oh, thank you.
With a little OC, maybe you can walk around with some Captain Demos, right?
It's the best tasting weapon of choice.
Right, exactly. The criminal will be like, I shouldn't have done that, but gosh, I taste delicious.
He's like, man,
my eyes are bleeding, but it's really tasty.
Is that white truffle?
Yeah. But I mean, in most circumstances,
take me away. That was delicious.
Yeah, but in most cases, you got to really know when to intervene and how to intervene, because intervening in the wrong way could actually make a situation, frankly, worse. But I think that at the very minimum, if you're going to try to be a defender, whether it's of your own family, or the ones you care about, or yourself, or a third party, you really just have to get a little bit of education on it.
So I'm going to say something that's probably going to catch a little bit of heat, and that's fine. The 9 people that are going to watch this, if 7 of them get pissed off, that's fine.
I got 3 friends.
No,
Go up to 12.
We have probably the same 3 friends
I think so.
these days. No, it's not that controversial. I have a conceal and carry that I've had for many years, and that's something that you and I, have become friends about. That's not the reason we're friends, but
Right.
You've taught me a lot about responsibilities and what to do and not to do, and what's real, what's not real, and what are the real ramifications. And I think everybody, whether you are interested in firearms or not, they're there.
Yeah.
It's part of the ethos, like
Part of our culture.
It's just it's in the ether, like it's there. And I think everybody needs to be trained in not just how to use them, but like what you can and can't do as a legal, law-abiding person that owns them versus, the guy that is going to come and try and take your stuff or your life, who's not going to play by those rules. And that's why, like, when I see all these, like, the governor's going to put, the newest one, they're going to force serial numbers onto each casing and each bullet so that there's like a complete manifest from manufacturer to retailer, from retailer to the consumer.
Yeah.
And then, so you got this like record, and like, I'm like, okay, well that seems like something that
There's no way to serialize ammunition. There's no way to do it. They used to
let's pretend there is. Let's pretend that every bullet has a fingerprint that way, not just from coming out of the barrel and whatever. Let's pretend it's a 1-to-1 thing, right? It's to me, it's just another money grab because one, it seems very unlikely to be able to do that
from a technical point of view.
right? And then secondly, how many billions of rounds are already out in the marketplace now?
That are in my closet.
Right. So those have to be what? You got to get a Sharpie out and label all those before you use them? Or are those have to be turned in? That's a whole other story.
Yeah.
We're turning things in now. Where your papers? Yeah, well, I understand. But I think everybody should go through that training just so that they know, what's on the right side of the law and what you can and can't do. Like people are like, oh, I got a home defense gun now. I'm just waiting for somebody to, I wish somebody would come break into my house. I'm like, dude.
You don't want to wish for that.
One, you don't want to wish for that. And two, you better be ready, and there's more people than just you, in that house. And there's, depending on where you're at and situated, like people don't have a plan. They got a gun, but they don't have a plan.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous too, and you go after the wrong guy or they take that gun from you.
That's happened. That actually happened
happens
a couple
a lot,
months ago
man.
on the CTA. A guy pulled a gun, but he didn't have the, I would just say training to just immediately be
and some dude just Jackie Chan'd it and was like,
yeah, he
thank
grabbed
you
it
for
and
that.
he shot him with it too.
There you go.
So, I think that most people who say that they have a firearm don't train as much as they need to. I mean, I do qualifications all the time, renewals and stuff.
It's like working out, dude. Nobody works out like they're supposed to.
Right.
And there's one reason to have a gun. It's to defend yourself.
100%.
You could say I'm a hunter or whatever. But, a Glock, a 9mm in your pocket, properly is not for hunting. It's for defending yourself. It's for taking another human being's life in a situation where you can't de-escalate it in any other way.
We like to say stopping the threat, but that could
whatever.
lead to that.
Yeah, I mean, stopping the threat, whatever you call it, whatever you want to call it. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I didn't want to get too far in there, but if anyone's interested in getting their getting more education on that, you do expansive stuff. I know every month you guys go to a range. You have some tactical friends that
do some tonight.
Yeah, right after this, right?
Right after this. Yeah.
Thanks for the invite, by the way. I probably would trip on my apron. I'm not geared up for it today, but like I'd like to go to one of those one day. You guys can all make fun of me.
I'll be doing Guns and Tacos, I think, again.
That's
year.
coming back?
I'm going to bring it back.
All right. So for those of you guys that don't know, Guns and Tacos, I joined the festivities 2 years.
Yeah, it's been about 2 years since I had
and
it.
then COVID kind of put that on kibosh for a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was so Guns and Tacos. Can you talk a little bit about that real quick? What it is, where it's at,
Headed at the Buffalo Range out in Ottawa, and we rent the range out for the day, and we shoot guns, and at lunchtime we pledge to the flag and listen to the national anthem and eat tacos.
And eat pastor.
Yeah, and typically if we make any profits, we donate it to a law enforcement organization.
Love that.
For one reason or another, whether it be mental health, substance abuse, which is a big issue with POs,
For sure.
or Brotherhood for the Fallen, which represents and supports families of dead officers.
And that's all of my brands, including the captives. Or anytime we have people from law enforcement or first responders here, we always like to, acknowledge them, call them out, thank them for their service.
Hardest job ever.
It's just dude. We can't do it. I mean, we're not doing it, and and all the people that are like, want to defund this and defund that and whatever. Just take a breath for a second
They're
and just think
themselves.
about. Well, who you gonna like Ghostbusters? You're gonna call the phone's got to ring somewhere, and someone's got to pick it up, and then someone's got to come and clean up your fucking mess. Whether you made it or not, you're in it. Like, have some respect. But
yeah,
I think Guns and Tacos is a really fun event.
it is a fun event.
I went twice. I'd like to go again. When is it going to be approximately this year?
Still working on details. I'll keep you updated.
Okay, so probably late summer-ish, early fall.
Usually in June, weather's best.
All right, so we'll post that up when we get more details on that. If people want to get in touch with you for a real estate closing or any kind of legal matter, and by the way, if it's not your area of expertise,
I can refer them out to colleagues.
Felix is a great place to start. You've done that with me quite a few times. I've had friends that have had a need. I called you, got you in contact with them, and you called me and said, hey, thanks very much for the referral. Mm-hmm. That's not my exact area of expertise, or I'm very busy with litigation right now, and this person's need is immediate.
Yeah.
I got them in contact with one of the best X, Y, and Z, people, and blah 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 blah. And that's the fastest way to get to the best help, I think, is call the lawyer, and they'll get you to the right place.
Always.
So if you want to get in contact with you, again, it's lawontarget.com. Lawontarget.com.
For all your legal needs.
www.lawontarget.com. And click to contact us. Put your information in there. I'm sure there's a phone number.
Yep.
And then if people are going to your physical address, again,
we're at 6839 West Archer, which is in the clearing area of the city of Chicago.
It's over by there.
Over by there. Over by Midway.
Over by Midway Airport over there.
Yeah.
Is there anything nice to eat over there?
That is Weber Bakery.
They got a nice sandwich there, or what is it?
It's a bakery.
Like a Danish?
Well, you got a Portillo's down the block too.
Can you get a nice cheese Danish there?
Cheesy Danish and the strawberries are good too.
How's the coffee? Good?
Hey, no coffee.
All right. So lastly, if you're still doing instructor stuff? So if people want to get in touch with you for for firearm instruction,
call that same number.
Same number?
Same number, yeah.
That's convenient.
I answer that phone all the time.
www.lawontarget.com for all your shooting and getting shot at and avoiding getting shot at needs.
Please don't get shot at.
All right. That was Lawyers, Guns, and Money with my man Felix. Thank you very much. You're a good friend. You're a great advisor. And we've known each other now 30 years. I hope we can make it another 30 and have a party here to celebrate that.
All right. Maybe give you a review of with the event we had here.
Oh, you know what? I almost forgot about that.
You did forget about that.
So let's go. We'll put that in. No, we'll drop it in right here. Brought to you by the Captain's Room, very private events. When was that? Was in December.
That was in December,
dude. Yeah. It's only April, right? It just turned April. It feels like that was a year ago, and not for any other reasons, just that we've been so busy and then holidays and whatnot. So it was December. You called me like
October.
I thought it was before that.
I was like late September, early October.
Yeah,
I knew you'd book up.
Well, dude, we got lucky because I said I can't do it. I said let me check with these people, and those folks moved.
Yeah,
that was a company party that moved because I was like, hey, a good friend of mine, he's trying to do something really nice for his lady. This is the only date they can do, and the gal's like, oh my god, that sounds really sweet, and she moved her party, dude.
All right,
that was really cool.
Oh, I appreciate that.
So, I'll get you in touch with them. You can send them a thank you note. But they were really nice people. Like they just, and dude, that was a 40-person party. They were just like, yeah, no problem. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's kind of people we have coming here. So, well, Felix contacted me. And he's like, hey, I want to do something really special for my lady. And I said, well, what do you got in mind? He's like, well, can we get together and like look at it? I said, of course. So he came here. We had a couple of adult beverages, and I gave him a tour. And I was like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And we got a big piece of butcher paper out. I tore it off and got a Sharpie out, and I wrote up a menu right there on the spot. And you guys love a lot of the same things I love, so it was easy for me. So like easy. We were talking about tapas, we were talking about Spanish and Portuguese food and all kinds of different stuff. And then we stuck some standards in there from my signature menu, which is a lot of tapas and stuff. And then like after we got through like 3 or 4 things, you're just like, dude, this you're hitting on all the cylinders, and you're just like, you do your thing.
Yeah.
And
I'm an easy customer because I let the professionals give me the advice.
But that's fun and also very nerve-wracking for me because that's a lot of pressure. But we've done so many of these now, and I know you.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, like I know, and we've eaten together before. Yes. I've cooked for you personally.
Amazing cook.
So I was like, you know what? Let me see. And then when I sent it to you, you're like, I have 0 changes. That was fun. And that was a surprise, right?
Yeah.
That was.
This is what happens when you trust your friend to deliver excellence.
But dude, that one was a little nervous for me because I didn't think the surprise was going to work. I thought one of the kids was going to give it up.
I was worried about that too, but it worked out.
It did work out.
They were a good team.
I was very nervous though because I was like, oh, dude.
We're almost here. We're
almost
inches.
here, and well, it was like they were almost here like 6 times, yes. And then people were getting comfortable and had some drinks already. They were going outside. I'm like, you're gonna fucking stay inside. So that worked out good, and she's beautiful. She came in just like made a
grand entrance like the Queen of England.
It was great.
I tell you what, though, a shameless plug for your shop here. They're still talking about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, everybody's still talking about it. And I think I just sent you that the photos we took. We posted them as your Google review. Got over 11,000 views.
That's crazy. Yeah. I don't on my side of Google. I don't get to see that.
Yeah.
But like I've had other people send me like because they get an alert, of some sort. I don't know. Is that an email they give you?
Yeah.
And I've done reviews for other places and stuff and see things, but it's like it's never that. It's like. You're an influencer now, like with 300 reviews. I was like, that was 2023 for like, some pizza shop.
Yeah.
And, Yonkers, and 11,000 reviews or 11,000 views
in 4 months.
In 4 months is pretty crazy.
Yeah, actually less if you think about it, because it was right before Christmas.
Well,
we were here the first week of April.
I can't thank you enough for trusting me with that, and I mean, we're being modest here, but I think the reason that your pictures got 11,000 views is because of that sport coat you had. Every person that walked in here was like, does that guy have his like clothes made for him?
Yeah.
I'm like, you mean Felix Gonzalez, the most interesting attorney in the world?
Dogs love me. I love dogs.
All right. So, hey, signing off here. I just want to, again, say thank you very much for coming all this way. I know you guys had some stuff going on today, and we had to move things around a little bit. Thanks for being flexible. Thanks for making it here.
Anytime.
I think there's some really good insights there. People know how to get a hold of you now.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing you here. Thanks again for trusting me with all the fun thing we've done together, and I hope we get to do that again soon.
We will.
And please invite me to go blow things up every once in a while. It's a great stress release.
100%.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much, and have a safe trip back to your place.
Appreciate you, and thanks for the time.
All right, that was live from the captain's room with my man Felix Gonzalez from Law on Target. Give him a call. You won't be sorry.